Hello again, John O'Neill here with the second of your podcasting videos brought to you by the Bluebell Arts Project. In the last video, I talked to you about what a podcast was and the basic equipment that you might need to make one, and how to do it all on a shoestring budget. Now, I also asked you to think about a subject for your podcast. So if you've got one, good for you. And if you haven't, well, there's plenty of time yet. Now, your podcast is also going to need a title. So you have to think about that too. So let's take the next step. It's a lot easier to make your podcast if you have a script. Now, you may choose to have somebody else with you, a friend to come along and co-present the program with you, and you'll just chat informally. But you still need to know what you're going to talk about first, second, and third, because you are telling a story, and you're going to need that beginning, the middle, and an end. Now, the running order is a bit like the list of chapters at the start of a book. It sort of tells you the order of things that are coming, and it helps you to mold your script. So, I'm going to make up a silly demonstration podcast called John's Accidental Kitchen Adventure. Well, it's as good a title as any. So that's my title, and I'm going to talk about cooking because I'm no good at it, and I actually have to eat. To begin, I will need an introduction. We're going to call that the intro. You can also have a little bit of music. If you decide on one little short piece of music that you might like to introduce every podcast with, becomes like your signature tune, if you like. But there are issues with music, and I'll talk about those in the very last video in the series, because it can be dodgy. So to begin with, we've got the intro, and I need to introduce myself. Got to say who I am and say what this particular show is going to be about. And this one's going to be about breakfasts. Yeah, breakfasts. So first I'm going to talk about my favourite morning foods. Then I'll move on to the hearty breakfast. I'll talk about the ingredients. And then I'll talk about the cooking process. And finally, there'll be an outro, which is basically where I say goodbye and I mention what's happening in the next podcast and so on. And that'll be it, and my little bit of music. So that's basically the running order for the script. I've got my script written, so now to record it. And this is where the crack starts. Now, if I had one of these, this is a portable booth that clips to a mic stand. If I had this, I'd be able to block out all the extraneous sounds from around outside the room, and my voice would sound more intimate to the listener. Now, in the absence of a home studio, there's always a duvet. Don't laugh. Okay, a duvet, I said, and I meant it, but I know you were probably wondering, but don't worry. So I've changed microphones here. I'm not using my shotgun mic that I normally use. I'm using this, which is an AKG D230. It's about 30 years old, this one, which just is a testament to how good they are. And it has been through the wars, believe you me. The other thing about this is it's a dynamic microphone. It's not made for podcasting. The purpose of this is that you could stand like this in front of a camera, and I'm far away from it, but you can still hear me. And I can also hold it out and still talk to it and interview people all around me. So these are not ideal for the job, but my podcast mic still hasn't arrived. So anyway, we'll live with that. But what I want to demonstrate here is this is my secret hideaway. If you're stuck and you don't have acoustic paneling and you don't have one of those fancy little semicircular acoustic boards that I showed you, then you really are stuck. Because if you live in a house, the best place to record usually might be the living room, the lounge, the one with the soft furnishings, the one with the carpets and the heavy drapes, or a bedroom, because in a bedroom there'll be a duvet lying around, there'll be carpet, there'll be heavier curtains. It cuts down the sound reflecting off the walls. Now, I'm in a room which has flat walls everywhere, and worse again, a laminate floor. So with laminate, everything's bouncing up, down and everywhere, and the microphone's picking up that ambient sort of space sound that you can hear around me. But here's my little trick. This in here is a very simple clothes dryer. You just pop it over a table, and this filthy old duvet, well, I say filthy, it's grubby rather than filthy. because it's been all around Ireland on camping trips and all sorts, and it just stays in the hot press as an emergency. But it's great for this. So here's what I mean. I'm going to get my script. I made a little script here so we can get into my demonstration podcast. I'll put that to one side for a second because what I've got here is a flat surface, which I don't want. So I'm going to be very sort of cheap on it. As I said, I try to keep this as inexpensive as possible. Here's a quilted jacket. We'll pop that in there, and that should give us a ground. So basically it's wrinkled up, and everything around this is an uneven surface, and better still, it's absorbent. So you will hear the difference if I set about doing the little podcasty bit. So just listen to the sound change as I stick my head in here. Now, I forgot to bring a chair over, but so what does it matter? You can look at my backside while I'm doing this. So, well, once I'm in here, there's no sound really reverberating around me. So I can start my podcast. Hello, I'm John O'Neill and welcome to John's Kitchen Adventures. And today I'm going to talk about a hearty breakfast. Breakfast, the most important meal of the day, isn't it? Well, I like to vary mine, so from day to day it's different. One day it might be something. Looks crazy, but who's going to be looking at you? I won't tell anybody. Right, the podcast audio has been recorded. Now we need to get it into the computer because it'll have to be edited to remove any big gaps or mistakes that might have been made. Now, before we do that, I'm going to give you a few recording tips. The two most annoying things for a listener are plosives and sibilants. Plosives are those popping sounds that when you're too close to your microphone and you use words with a P or a B at the beginning, like Peter Piper picked up pickled pepper. If I had a microphone close to my mouth, that would be going pop, 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 pop. And sibilants is that a hissy S. They just can rankle the ear. You can adjust those whenever you're actually mixing down the sound at the very end. Also, try to get your device or your microphone onto a stand. That way you avoid any mic rattle or cable rattle and so forth. And when you trip over a word during the recording or you say the wrong line, stop. Leave a little gap, take a breath, and reread the line. You can always cut out the gap when you come to do the edit. Right, back to transferring your audio. What we're looking at here is a program called Audacity, which is a very simple method of editing sound. So what I've done there is I'm just going up to the corner here, and I'm going to click on File, and I'm going to look for Import, because I want to take our podcast that I just recorded and put it into Audacity so we can trim it. Now, I click on Audio, and it asks me, where's it coming from? So what I'm going to do next is take this, my SD card from my Tascam recording machine, and I'm going to put it into this little card reader, like so. Sticks it in there, and then I'm going to insert it in my computer, which you can't see because it's down on the floor here. Now we need to go and look for it. The machine it's recorded on is called a DR60D Tascam. So there it is there, DR60D. We click on that, and it'll say DCIM, which is for cameras, but we want music. So music is where all our sound files are recorded. We click on that, and the podcast ought to be that one, I think. So there it goes. It's downloading it, and it's in. Right, now I've switched to my other computer, which has a different editing program in it. And this one is called Magix Video. Now I use this one for editing film, but it can also edit sound. That's the great advantage. If you've got one, it does both. So what I'm going to do here is to open it up. Now in the Gasyard, there are similar programs on all the computers that are in there, and there's quite a lot of them. So if there are a number of you who want to turn up and do your podcast, there's room for everybody. So this is going to be called podcast part 2. So when I want to add a file, I go to computer because as you saw, I put it into the card reader and stuck it in. Now I'm going to look for audio files again. So I just go up here to the top to computer, open up computer, and it gives me this list. So there it is, DR60D, because they've all got their own identity. And that holds the audio files that we want. Once again, go to music. We will now take that into the computer. So all I do is click on the download and I will copy the file to the computer. Matter of seconds, and there it is. Well, that's it. We've got it into the computer. And in the next video, we're going to look at how to edit the actual piece that you've recorded to the length you want it and, to get rid of all the bad bits. So between now and our next video, I'd like you to take a look at the script. Come up with your title, write yourself a little running order, and start working on your script. And we'll see how far you've got when we meet again. So for now, from me, John O'Neill, bye-bye.